Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your podcast host here at Action Coach in Central Texas. And today on the show, we have Lee Klancher, CEO and publisher at Octane Press. We're going to dive in, learn about Lee, all about his business, his journey to business ownership, and what it really takes to own and operate a business. You'll hear about challenges he's faced and successes he's had along the way. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop episodes like this. Welcome, Lee. It is nice to have you on the show today.
It's great to be here, Kay.
Wonderful. Well, let's dive in and share a little bit about yourself and your business.
So my business is Octane Press, and we're a book publishing company, and we publish books for enthusiast readers, for people that love machinery. And I am the founder and the publisher. I am also an author and photographer. This is a niche that I've been involved in basically my whole career. Our business has grown over the last 10 years from being a very small bootstrap startup to a solid company with a international reputation in making great motorsports books.
Wow, that is incredible. So you've been in business for over a decade now.
Yeah, it'll be actually October 1st will be our 14th anniversary. We were founded in 2010.
Oh my goodness, congratulations. That's
Thank
incredible. It's
you.
coming up. That's coming up soon.
Yeah, I know. I got to figure out something to celebrate.
That's true. Well, that is so cool. Well, I'd like to really, dive into a little bit about the business and like kind of what you're doing. So, like currently it's you and like what's your team look like for the business?
Gotcha. We have our team is really all over the place. We have a core, I'd say, of a half dozen people that are either employees or contractors who are working for us on a day-to-day basis to run the publishing business. But then we've got a broad net. We use people with so many different specialties. We have a broad set of sales reps. We have lots and lots of contractors that do all kinds of special things. I'd say there's 20 or 25 people that are involved on a regular basis. We also have almost 150 authors that are part of it.
Oh, wow.
A book publishing turns out is very much a big community, even though we are a very small company.
That is really cool. That's really neat to learn about that, especially, working with so many people. Now, do you utilize like within your business, like a CRM or organization tool to kind of keep everybody like organized?
We use a variety of things. We kind of the core folks live and breathe on Slack. We have lots of different. We don't use a CRM, no, to answer that question. We do use a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of kind of well-developed processes and flows so things can be tracked. And we're all virtual too. So there's a lot of challenges to our business. We weren't always all virtual. That came up in the last 4 years. So we've really had to focus on tasks and processes to keep everybody together.
Definitely. Well, tell me a little bit more about that, like some of those challenges you faced and how you're tackling that.
Some of the challenges on from a structural, certainly being out of the office was something we had to, and we always had some virtual people and some here in town, but in we're here in Austin, Texas, and at COVID we went fully remote, and really then the big difference was we started a daily stand up, which is very brief. Anybody can come in. That was really a helpful place just to come in, say, hey, I've got this problem and solve problems.
Mhm.
We use Slack continuously, and that's helped us a lot in terms of communicating and know what's going on. And
Mhm.
then we had to sort of restructure and look at when you look at the week, you have to look at what got done and focus on that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
without getting into the weeds, that's the easiest way to talk about that one.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially like when you look at like productivity, since everybody is out of the office. That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Um, yeah, so kind of like diving in a little bit about your business, like your ideal client, or I guess what your authors would be your clients.
No, the authors aren't our
Oh,
clients. The authors are
okay.
like a business partner. So the way a book
Okay.
publisher
Okay.
works is people come to us with ideas, or I am also an author, so I also author books for our company.
Okay.
But we have these ideas, and then we finance and create the idea to
Okay.
create the book.
Okay.
So the authors are very much partners. So when an
Okay.
author comes to us, it's very much they're willing to invest their time in making the book. They're going to make royalties on the book with us,
Mm-hmm.
which, to be honest, making any money in book royalties is very difficult. There's only a few authors that make a lot of money or make very much.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to front the money to create that book, and then
Mm-hmm.
they're going to. So it's a business partnership. Our customers are readers. So the
Mm-hmm.
people that we're trying to reach are people that want to read books. And that is actually the most difficult part of book publishing today. And it's one thing to craft a book. I've been in this industry since the 90s. I spent 10 years at a big publisher before starting my own, learning
Mm-hmm.
this craft. So making a book isn't necessarily something everyone knows or can do. But I really feel that discovery is the tricky part
Yeah.
because there's so many books, and especially now as it's become easier to publish, there are tens of thousands of books published each year, and you have to stand out amongst that group of books, and you have to find your readers, and
Mm-hmm.
that is the biggest challenge in this business.
Oh, definitely. So that kind of goes right into like the marketing, asking about marketing, because that's probably a huge part, not only behind your business, but the books as well. Correct?
Exactly. And two things to think about. One is, and I'll talk a little bit about the way we market, but
Mm-hmm.
books are also unique. And a long time ago, a publisher I respect a lot told me you should think of every book as a new business. Because now, granted, we're in a niche, right? So we're doing our readers are people that care about machinery. They care about tractors and racing and motorcycles and cars. They're obsessed with that. So we
Yeah.
do have a niche, but that's a very broad. If you take that, there's all these little sub parts of that. And
Mm-hmm.
so with each book, you have to look at, okay, first, does the world need this? Is it
Right.
missing? Is the information in the books filling a gap? Then how do you reach those readers?
Mm-hmm.
And we reach those readers with really, there's no silver bullet. But we try to use all the tools at the same time. And right now we're wrapped up in two big launches. And really, you're mixing, we use a lot of digital marketing. We
Mm-hmm.
use a lot of promotional marketing within like the Amazon platform, within the industry.
Yeah.
We use social media really heavily. We have a great email list. We hit them really hard. Um, and also in person old school. So in the industry we're in, if you do all those things, you're going to reach enough people and you're going to succeed. But you really have to do them all, and you ideally do them around kind of this focus point when the book comes out.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So do you like organize launch parties for books and authors and things like that too? So those in-person touch points.
We do, and the launch parties can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We have a new book about a famous racing driver, AJ Foyt, and we're working on. They have some really awesome plans for their launch party in Indy. They have a wine bar in
Ooh.
Indianapolis, so that should be really fun. The author and is well connected, so we'd have a great guest list. It'd be just exceptional, but that hasn't come together yet, so just FYI. But yeah, that is a part of it as a launch party. We also want to go to the races or shows where the enthusiasts are at. You want to get involved with that race or show. So not only is your author and book there, but it's promoted heavily at that event. If you just
Yeah.
stick an author in a card table, which is the time-honored way to promote books, right? You stick a card table in front of your bookstore, nobody
Yeah.
shows up. You have to also promote that appearance. So it's really the marketing side of this business to make it work is complex.
Definitely. I really like that you shared that, those kind of like where you're getting out, getting out in the public and like bringing your authors and bringing your books to like different shows and things. That's really a genius move, I think.
It's just old
Yeah,
school marketing that still works.
it
And I
really
do like to
does.
say we earn customers one at a time. And every time our group gets in front of a customer, there's somebody that's probably going to come back, buy from our website, buy our books. So like we know those guys,
Yeah.
we like those people. Great. And that's just old school business too, right?
It really is. There's a kind of a something special about it. I really am for it. So I think that's cool that you're integrating it in those cool ways. Well, kind of like diving in, I'd like to learn a little bit about you, like a little bit behind your why you started in business. So, why did you go into business for yourself as opposed to working for somebody else? And what was that transition like for you?
So mine was a really interesting journey. I'll try to make it quick. So back in 2000, I was working for a book publisher. I'd done that for many years as a editorial director and acquisitions editor, meaning I made books doing similar to what I do now. But on the side, I was writing, and I've always wanted to be a writer since college. That was always the goal. And I got an assignment to go do a motorcycle write about riding motorcycles across Baja. And we went and did that. I did that with took some friends and took a camera and just had an incredible adventure. And one of the days we actually got lost in a very remote part of Baja and had to find gas at a little town. It was this whole saga. And we got so like freaked out that when we got to the town we were supposed to stay, we had a hotel that night. We thought we were only halfway done with the day and we kept riding. And we ended up crossing the Baja Peninsula in the middle has a mountain range. And we crossed that mountain range was the second day's ride we did in one day. And we ended up coming out of the mountains about 10 o'clock at night. And as we came down out of these very old mountains, we had this incredible view of the Bay of California. Sun was setting. I have pictures from that moment. And I had a moment. I had a moment where I was like,
Mm.
okay, I want to do this.
Hmm.
I'm done with that, which was working for somebody. And so that really kicked me off. And I came home and started working from that moment on. It took me 5 years before I quit my job and started doing things on my own.
Yeah.
But that's what led me to being independent. I quickly learned as soon as I did that, that I am a much happier person when it's mine. And I
Mhm.
remember telling in the early days, I mean, it was tough when you start a business from zero. I didn't have funders, I didn't have backers. I just had, hard work and a few nickels. And I mean, I'd been working in book publishing. So believe me, when I say a few nickels, I mean a few nickels. You don't make a ton of money.
Mhm.
Um, but I was like doing these little things for myself, which where it was my choice and I'm fighting with all the difficulty, I was just so much happier. And since that time, that was 2006 when I walked away. You know,
Mhm.
I'm done. I'm independent. That suits me.
Wow, that is a cool story. I absolutely love that you have like that moment that you remember that was that life-changing moment. Thank you for sharing that. That's super cool. Um, Kind of like looking at the business that, over these last years that you've had it, what is a memorable roadblock or challenge that you maybe faced along the way that you overcame, and how did you grow from it?
I looked, you sent me this question in advance. And I looked at it. I'm like, oh my God, that's like 10 years of moments. But there's a couple that really stand out. One is getting our first big book off the ground.
Mm,
So by 2010, we were starting to focus on books, but the company just didn't have resource. In a major, a lot of our books are large and expensive. They just
mhm,
require what to a normal person like myself is a lot of money.
mhm,
So getting that first one off the ground, it took us 3 years to figure out how to fund it. We knew what we wanted to do. It was a book on farm equipment of all things. I knew there was a niche. What we were doing was a book that was bigger, more thorough, and more expensive than anything that had been done.
okay.
So there was just so many challenges to that. The bookstores were skeptical. They're like, that's too expensive. Nobody's going to buy it.
Hmm.
The finding the right partners took time, getting it done, making sure it succeeded, huge. So we just killed ourselves. And in fact, in that time, I hired my first employee, which was a kid who was going to St. Ed's College, Toby Gross, who's here in town and a good friend of mine now.
Hmm.
And he and I remember, were working out of my house, just two guys, nothing. And the first shipment of 7,000 of these new books came in September of 2012. And 2 days before they arrived at our warehouse, all 7,000 were sold. And that was the line in the sand for the company, where
Hmm.
we went from, kind of a dream and just grinding it out to, making enough money to call ourselves a business, get an office, hire people, do all of the things businesses do. Before that, it was just grind, grind, grind.
Yeah.
But those years before, there's nothing tangible to tell you this is going to happen. You just
Hmm.
have to believe. And so that was a real turning point. I'd also say back in 20, we decided to grow the company, and that was
Hmm.
I will go into that's a little more of a normal business story. We invested some money and added some things and really grew the company quite a bit.
Hmm.
Things that we thought would work didn't work, things we didn't expect, and I think that's everybody's story, honestly. But that was another very challenging time where the company transitioned again. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah. Wow. Well, that is really incredible to hear. When you had that moment again where you're like, this is it. This is where I'm going. Looking kind of ahead, where do you see yourself growing in the next 3 to 5 years?
So our growth is really, we went through that big growth spurt in 20. And after it, I'm like, oh, those big growth spurts are brutal. So we've settled into a real kind of 10 to 15% growth,
Yeah.
solid growth. And we've changed our focus a little bit. Instead of trying to do lots and lots of books for us, which would be about 15 to 20 books a year, we've cut way down and we're trying to do big hits. And we're trying to make sure we have two big hits, basically four big hits every year. And that is a different model. It's still got its challenges. But it's a much more, I find it a much more sustainable model. And so right now we're just focused on, we've built this great enthusiast audience, and we're focusing on reaching beyond that, broadening the appeal of our books. A lot of our books in the very early days were, they're for somebody they're laser focused. What they love is, Al Unser Jr. Racing or farm tractors. That's it. And we're really creating books now that have a broader appeal. And that's been a lot of fun for all of us. We're like, okay, we have books we could get our relatives to read. It's fun.
That is so fun. Well, this has been such a fun conversation to hear about your business, how you've grown over the years, and like what's kind of looking at the years ahead. So, um, I'd love to dive into it's a fun section of questions called our rapid fire section, where we
Woo!
ask you 4 questions where you answer top of mind. Are you ready for some rapid fire?
I'm ready. Bring it on.
All right. The first question is, what is a key to success for you?
Hard work and persistence. Stick with it.
Yes. And what is one piece of advice you have for other business owners?
Work your ass off.
Yes.
Work hard and stick with it and believe if you keep believing, you stand with it, it'll work.
Truth. And the next one is, what is one book or piece of content you are taking in currently?
Demons of Unrest by Eric Larson. I love his style. I've modeled a lot of what I do after what he's doing, and it's a fantastic read.
Very cool. And our final question is, if you could wave a magic wand and overnight change one aspect of your business for the better, what would it be?
Supercharge our sales, whole sales and marketing system. Just like pour a ramjet into that baby and pop it up. That's always the challenge.
Oh, that is so true. Well, let's start now. Let's get people plugged into you. How can people find you?
Octanepress.com is where you can find us and check us out. We have a great email list. We're on all the socials. So if you search by Octane Press, it will be there. And also, if you're looking for our books, anywhere that books are sold, you can find it. Your local bookstore, Amazon, all those places.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Lee. For our final question today, what is most inspiring to you today?
You know, literally Sunday night, I went to the Saxon Pub and saw Van Wilk perform. I hadn't seen him perform before, and it just reminded me watching musicians are such a visceral artist. You can see them working, and
Yes.
seeing that reminded me that despite the fact I sit in an office and I deal with spreadsheets and warehouses, and some days it's not so glamorous, I have the privilege of also making a living from producing art. And it reminded me of that so much. It just reinvigorated me. It kind of brought me back to life. And I'm so grateful for our live music scene here in Austin. It's inspirational.
Oh, I love that you said that. Music is my love language. So that is incredible. So, Lee, this has been such an awesome conversation. Thank you so, so much for being on the show today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
Awesome. And thank you so much for listening, guys. If you resonate with this conversation, be sure to like and subscribe so you get notifications when we drop episodes like this.